Every relationship that we're in is going to have times where it struggles. And whenever you live with somebody, there is going to be clashes and things that come up that need to be worked through. When we are young and really haven't maybe matured or had the opportunity to understand how relationships work, it may be that we handle things in ways that just make things a lot worse rather than improves them or helps us to grow. And sometimes these can continue to escalate until we finally start seeking out therapy, but sometimes it's so far gone and there's so many hurts and so much unforgiveness that it feels like the relationship, you just feel like it might be just improving, and then something happens and you're just right there again where you feel like, I gotta get out of here. I just cannot, I don't think I can go on with this. But yet there's a part of you that you don't want to tear your family up. You don't want to end something that you've had for thus many years. You want to see it through. You remember some of the good things. And so there's a struggle, a back and forth struggle. These are the people I'm talking to. You that may be struggling with some things, you don't see how you can improve it. But there are things that we can do and mindset shifts that we can make a big difference. Now, this is not an overnight video where you're going to just all of a sudden go, oh, I get it, and tomorrow morning everything's going to be hunky-dory. These are mindsets that you have to, and practices that you have to start implementing. It's kind of like when you are going to start exercising and you want to do the marathon, but you've never ran before, just because you decide that night, oh yeah, I would really love to do that marathon. I really want to accomplish that. And you learn the way to accomplish that. You still have to go through the practice and the building up, and before you start seeing the results to where you could run that marathon. And it's the same concept. You're going to have to take these practices and really implement them, and then you are definitely, if you do that, you will definitely see an improvement in the relationship, being as the person's not cheating on you and determined to destroy it themselves. This video is particularly for people who may be struggling in their relationship but still really want to make it work. If you're not sure if you even want to make it work, I would like to refer you to my video of should I leave my narcissistic partner. Now, it does say narcissistic, but there are some good tips and advice for any type of relationship to really evaluate that. So in this video, I am going to share with you some practices and mindsets that I have implemented that have greatly changed my relationship with my significant other. Before I get going, I would like to ask you to please hit the like button and the subscribe button. So before I learned how to genuinely love myself, most of the relationships in my life suffered a lot. Sometimes I kept up a facade that we had a good relationship, but deep down there was a lot of resentment and hurt inside of me that I never expressed, that I just ignored my own needs. When you don't really know how to genuinely love yourself, when that hasn't really clicked in, then you are usually a person that is more of a people pleaser, and you're more interested in keeping everybody else happy for the sake of not rocking the boat or disturbing the waters. You can end up at the end of that road at a very depressed state. And I've always said that depression is you pressed down, you who you are, your needs, what you want, your desires, your hurts, your likes, all of that are just pressed down. Like for me, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I really liked. Sometimes it was hard for me to even know what my favorite color was. I wasn't really tuned into myself at all, but I was very tuned into other people. Because of this way I had about me, being that people pleaser, I would morph myself into what I felt like they wanted. And when I did start coming out of myself a little bit more, when my needs became kind of dire and I wanted something different, then the people around me in my main relationships were shocked and didn't know what to think of me, because they were seeing a different side of me they hadn't seen before. They were used to me just pleasing them and going along with them. And when I didn't want to do that, or I wanted something new, or I wanted to make some changes, I came up against a brick wall. I came up against, just aggravation. And I felt like in my personal relationship for years, I felt like that we were not in the same boat rowing together. We were just surviving for so many years, and that both of us didn't have the tools or the maturity or the understanding of how to navigate a long-lasting relationship. And we both ended up doing and saying things in the long run that were very harmful to the relationship that we had began with. So what ultimately happened is that I just retreated more and more into myself and just didn't try to talk about anything that was important to me, because every once in a while I'd pop out and try again, but it always ended up in an argument, and I didn't understand what I was doing or what I could do differently to change that. It was just so frustrating to me, because I had dreams and aspirations and things that I wanted to aim at, but I didn't, I had also other people in my life that I couldn't just like wander off and take off and just pursue that on my own without deeply hurting and harming and impacting those people that I cared about. And so if you can relate to any of this, I would love for you to, give me a thumbs up in the comment, or say hell yes, or I get it. And one of the first things that I learned that began to help the situation was I learned, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, the emotional scale, that when you're trying to talk with somebody in any relationship, and with 1 being I'm so kicked back and relaxed and easygoing with this person, and 10 being I'm so pissed off I'm ready to hit them kind of thing, just your emotions are, so there's the scale 1 to 10, right? So I'm relaxed, I'm a little agitated, I'm getting angry, blah, blah, blah. When you hit a 5 on that emotional scale, and only you can really know where the 5 is, right? Where it's just starting to tip to the other side. When you hit that 5, you've got to ask the person that you're talking with, you've got to have an agreement with them and say, when we hit a 5, let's just put the conversation down until we're ready to talk about it again, starting at a 1. So what that means is we will come back to the conversation, but not until when I think about talking about it again, I feel relaxed. If as soon as I think about it, I'm up here again, or I'm starting up there, then you're not ready to talk about whatever it is you need to talk about. And the reason being is because once you hit that 5, literally your capability you're in like a fight and flight mode, and your capability to truly reason is turned off. You don't have that ability any longer. So you're not going to be able to be objective any longer. You're not really going to be all you're going to be both be in a position like that, whether it's one of you or both of you, is you're going to do anything and everything you can to defend yourself and to hurt the other person, because that's what you do when you fight. You defend and you afflict. So that was really, really helpful for me, and for our relationship, when we learned that if we're getting to that 5, let's just put it aside and then come back to it later. Another thing that was very helpful is I began to learn and understand that life is a mirror. And so that everything that we perceive as happening to us begins inside. So it's actually like a filter. And there's that experiment of, I think it's the basketball players that are aimed at the hoop, and then there's a video where they bring an ape on, and the people don't even see the ape because they're focused on what they're aimed at. And that's how mentally we are. We are a filter, and we have certain aims and certain focal points, and we filter everything out through that. So we can have this big circle of life is life. this small circle here is worries and cares and concerns, and then this little tiny of actual things that are going wrong in our life right here, but our focal point could be right there. I had to start shifting the way I see my life, what my focal points were, what I was filtering through. I had to start healing, and I did that largely through learning to love myself and respect myself. You do have to go back and heal some trauma from your past in order to, because usually the lack of respect and the lack of genuine self-love comes from beliefs that we picked up about ourselves and storylines we picked up about ourselves in our formative years, in our childhood years when we were forming our opinions, and especially in those earlier years. And in my course, Genuine Self-Love, we do a little bit of that work. Another thing that you learn when you understand that life is a mirror is that you begin to understand that when people are treating you a certain way, you have to stop and ask yourself, okay, where am I treating myself that way? So when you feel frustrated inside, and that frustration feels like it's coming from out here, maybe it feels like they don't appreciate me, they ignore me. You have to ask yourself, well, do I appreciate me? How am I showing myself that I appreciate myself? How am I paying attention to myself? Because again, that's what you attract. That's the mirror of what is really going on in here and the filters that you're seeing life through. And if you want to understand this a little bit better and how to put it into practice, then I would like to refer you to my video, Help, He's Driving Me Crazy. And I will put links to all the videos I mentioned in this video in the description below. So, and also in understanding that life is a mirror, I began to put to practice in my meditation, where I would literally put that light, that shield of light around myself mentally. But that shield of light and protection was also a two-way mirror. And I would see this two-way mirror around me as I moved through my day. And what a two-way mirror is that I look out and I see the world, but anybody that looks toward me I would realize they're seeing a reflection of themselves. So no matter how they looked at me, if they went, or whatever, it didn't matter. Even if they smiled at me, it was about them. It was about them. They were seeing something in themselves, albeit they look at you, but they see this two-way mirror. It's actually a reflection of their own heart. And that helped me a lot to start guarding myself against other people's projections. And it also helped me to stop projecting my own filters onto other people, and namely in this video, our significant other. Another practice that is powerful in shifting your relationships with others is meditation with mindfulness. So meditation in of itself, I've said many times, is very relaxing to the mind. But another thing that it really helps in as far as relationships goes is you start gaining this ability to observe your thoughts. So you start becoming the observer of your thoughts. In meditation, you turn off the thoughts, and then when thoughts start going like, blah, 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 right? And you catch it again, and then you become the observer of it. Wow, look at all those thoughts, right? And you can start implementing that into your life. You can catch yourself in a train of thought and then stop it and go, oh, look at that train of thought. Wow. What kind of filters is that thought coming from? Where is that, where did that storyline come from? That's an interesting thought. Without going into too much thought about the thought, but at the same time being the observer of it, it kind of arrests it so that you don't just take off with it as if it's you and let it start affecting all your emotions and the outcome of your day or the way you react in life. You start being able to respond more rather than just react. And we all know that when we can thoughtfully respond to something, it is a lot more effective than when we react, because when we react, we also our reaction is usually charged with a lot of emotion. And not to say that there isn't a time and a place for some of that, but when we're in a relationship and we want to bring that relationship to a place of peace and a working together, a flowing together, we don't want to feel emotionally charged all the time. So the meditation can be really powerful in helping you with that. I think this is one of the most powerful, or if not the most powerful, mind shift or practices that I began to implement. And that is, I stopped taking responsibility for the happiness of other people. I had to really realize that I am not responsible to the way people perceive life, for the way they react to life, or the stories they tell themselves about it, nor am I responsible to ensure that they're happy and that they're content. That is an adult's responsibility. When somebody is truly mature and an adult, they take responsibility for that. When they blame whatever and whoever their unhappiness or their reactions or what they chose to do in life on somebody else, they're immature. They're still like a child inside. They're really not mature. And immaturity, children shouldn't be in relationships. You need to mature to be in a good relationship. And so I stopped taking responsibility for trying to make other people happy. I was just shocked as I started to work on this, and that's why I say it's probably one of the most powerful things I did, because I was very shocked at how much I did this, how much I was constantly doing things, and my whole life, again, it wasn't revolved around me, the hub of my life, because I'm the only one that feels my life, and you're the only one that feels your life, right, and has to live with the consequences of your choices. How much I revolved myself around trying to make people happy. I was just saturated in that, and it was largely because I needed to heal of the message that I took away in my childhood, that I am responsible for everybody's happiness. And I had a horrible, abusive, mentally and physically at times abusive upbringing, and it definitely damaged my worldview and the way I saw myself and my what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. And so just implementing this one thing, it might sound just simple, but when you actually start to put it to practice, you're going to be shocked, especially if you're a people pleaser in any way, or highly sensitive or empathic. You're going to be shocked at, wow, how much you do this, and you're going to be empowered by not doing it anymore. And in the beginning of implementing this, it's going to throw things off in your relationship, because like I said, you've given off the vibe that we are responsible for one another's happiness, right? And so when you stop taking that responsibility, sometimes the other half might elevate their passive aggressive, sometimes cues that you need to change or you need to do something different so that I can be happy. And so that might elevate for a while, but after a while they're going to mellow out, and because they're not going to get that message from you anymore, and they're just going to take responsibility for their own happiness and realize that it's just their perception and it's just their reaction to life, and it really has nothing to do with you, but with them, with their own self, and vice versa. You're going to grow in that area too, and there won't be so much of this blame game going on as there what will be of, I feel aggravated, why don't we go on a walk together? I'm going to get out for a while. Just the responsibility of, if I'm feeling yucky and I'm feeling low, I have the power to do something different, to shift my mindset, to shift my environment. I can do something about this. I don't have to just sit here and get angry and blame and go nowhere doing that. And this is a lot, like I said, like the mirroring. And remembering when you're doing this, when you're not allowing yourself to be responsible, and maybe things are escalating a little bit from your relationship, from the other side of the relationship, that sometimes that projection is going to come at you harder. And if you're empathic and sensitive, you got to have that two-way mirror up, and you've got to keep reminding yourself, just throwing that shield up at the darts of projection and just shielding yourself from it and letting that dart bounce off back to where it belongs. In the beginning, sometimes you'll feel like you'll notice the energy. You'll notice the energy shift when, as soon as they're projecting something on you or they're irritated. Sometimes they might not even be projecting it on you themselves, but you just are so used to absorbing their irritation or their bad mood. You're used to taking it on. Like, I've got to do something different to make them happy, because you're used to being responsible for their happiness. So sometimes in the beginning, you might just feel like you're crawling into this little shell of a hole and just ignoring them the best you can, just trying to shut them out. But as you get more practice in it, and as that starts to de-escalate, because it will eventually, unless they're just abusive assholes, right? It'll de-escalate, and then pretty soon it'll just be like your Wonder Woman. Anything comes up, you'll remind yourself, you pull that shield up, you'll get quicker, you'll get stronger, and you won't absorb so much of that and have that upset your entire world any longer. Another powerful practice to improve your relationship is to start romancing yourself. I would like to refer you again to my video on 10 ways to romance yourself. But this might sound like, what? Because in therapy, like, get out there and be romantic. And I don't find that just always works. I feel like that's putting us into this role-playing kind of thing. There's a lot of movies and interpretations out there in media and in society on what romance looks like, what passion looks like. And when we're young people, get caught up in the role playing of relationships and what relationships are supposed to look like and supposed to be like. And I feel like that can be very damaging. When you want respect, you got to have self-respect, right? When you want to be appreciated, you got to appreciate yourself. When you want romance, you got to bring romance into your life. So you have to ask yourself, what is romance to me? What is passion? Passion for me means being very emotionally charged in a positive way, and involved completely with everything I have, involved in whatever it is that I'm doing at that moment, just really immersed in it. And romance to me it's the music, it's art, it's feeling that the beauty of life. And so how can I romance myself? I bring, sometimes it's buying myself a bouquet of flowers. It might be like, sometimes I remember one day I did an Italian spaghetti dinner where I just put, flowers on the table, and I made it like a high-end restaurant in the kitchen, and I had my favorite opera music playing in the background. And I just brought in the ambience of romance, and it was just so fun, and I felt so romantic. It's something that you've got to have inside of you. You've got to feel, and when you feel that, you're going to feel romantic with your other half. When you bring in the essence of romance, the essence of romance is going to be there. It's not something that you have to role play into. So another very important mindset shift that needs to be made, or a practice, I don't know what you would call this, but you need to mentally tell yourself and make a commitment that you are opting out of mind games. You are not playing games anymore. I believe that everybody in this world learns to some degree or another games, mind games. We learn very young how to manipulate things, and eventually how to manipulate people to get what we want, because ultimately we are all after what we want. People say, don't be so selfish. And, I believe there's very unselfish acts that people do at times, but people are, for the most part, the hub of their own life. They're the only ones that have to live with how they feel. So whether, if they're doing work that is blessing humanity and sacrificing a lot of their own resources to do that, if it's making them feel really happy and good, they're doing that because it makes them feel happy and good. And sometimes when we have learned, we've habituated certain games, and largely in relationships, they come forward as passive aggressive games, where we, instead of just being upfront about things, we try to get a message across by maybe, giving a cold shoulder, or, slamming doors when we come in and out the house, or ignoring somebody, just showing them through our emotions or whatever, instead of just going to them and saying, that kind of upset me when you said that. I don't know where you were coming from, but it really hurt my feelings. And the reason why we don't do that so much is because we found early in life that a lot of times when we went to people straightforward, we just ended up in a fight. And so in order to avoid a fight, we learned other ways of getting our messages across to people. And there are times, when you just can't approach somebody, they're just unapproachable. But you don't have to play their games anymore. And I just started opting out of games. The main way I learned how to do this is I started just being as straightforward as I knew how to be. And I started taking people at face value. Because one of the things that happens when we're in this very subtle mind game that goes on throughout our whole society, so I'm not just talking about any relationship, but just throughout every relationship and every society, one of the things that happens is you start to do this mind reading. And so you start to ask yourself, or when they say something or do something, what do you mean by that? I want to just say, well, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. But people are in that mindset of reading people's minds. Oh, they must have thought, or did you see the way they just ignored me the last 2 times? They must be pissed off because I'm, dating that girl, or they're acting that way because they're jealous of me because I just got this promotion, or, you mind read and you would make assumptions about people. And oh gosh, I want to do a whole video on assumptions, because that's just a whole nother ball game. But you start making these assumptions as well. So opting out of mind games kind of forces you to be very direct. You can still do that with tact, but being direct, and also taking people at face value, and that's the way you don't get pulled into their games. If they say, you're asking, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Okay, well, I'd love to eat penguin. Do you want to go there? And they're like, yeah, I guess. Okay, face value just said, I guess. This is hard to start doing, and I don't always do it 100% right. It takes, again, practice. So it's taking them at face value instead of saying, oh, well, the way they said, I guess, what they really mean is not really. And you're reading them, and they're expecting you to read that, right? And they're not being straightforward, but that's leaving that on them. Again, letting them be responsible for their own happiness. And if they're just as free to say, I don't want, not really, that doesn't sound good to me at all. And then, you guys may be finding something that sounds good to both of you, right? Okay, that's just a really obvious way to look at this, but there's a lot more subtle ways that this mind reading and this passive aggressive thing can go on. Just like when you are with your significant other and they are putting off those vibes, right? That something's wrong, and you say, what's wrong? Nothing. And because their energy tells you, instead of playing that game, just saying, okay, nothing's wrong, and going forward, like, okay, nothing's wrong, just treating them like nothing is wrong. Take them at face value. If they say nothing is wrong, then nothing is wrong. There's always going to be that temptation when it's just obvious that something is, to continue to probe them. But catch yourself and just, okay, I'm taking you at face value, so nothing's wrong, right? And if they slam something, say, did you know you just slammed the door? You know, was there a reason that you slammed the door? Oh, well, I didn't realize I slammed the door. Okay, take them at face value, even though maybe you know damn well they realized they did, right? Just take them at face value. Okay, they didn't realize it. Literally take them at face value. And the same with you, you just be straightforward and just say what you mean. So if they want to go eat somewhere, they like something and you don't like it, say, I don't, you know, we can go there, but I don't really want to go there. You can say it that way. Yeah, we could go there. I don't really like that place, or that doesn't really sound that great to me, but I'm willing to go anyways. I mean, that's not playing a game. That's just saying I'm willing to go, but yeah, it doesn't sound that great to me, right? Or if they come to you and you are angry about something, but you don't want to talk about it, you can tell them, yeah, I'm pretty agitated right now, but I'm on that, 1 to 10 thing right now. I want to wait till I feel a little calmer and we can talk about it later, right? So again, just being straightforward and opting out of the mind games is going to be very, very pivotal, crucial, helpful. Is going to be a game changer. I'm telling you, it's going to be a game changer. Haha, think about that. Game changer. Okay, this big tippo goes along with genuine self-love, which again, my course really, really helps you dig down and get your roots down into genuine self-love. If you're interested, you'll have a link to my website and you can go check it out there. But accepting yourself. Learning to really accept and appreciate yourself, it just goes so far in helping every other relationship you have. Because when somebody else doesn't accept you and appreciate you, it doesn't matter anymore. The only time something hurts, really hurts us emotionally, that somebody does or says about us, is when there's a part of us that has an agreement with that. But when there's no longer an agreement with that, we no longer identify in any way with that, we could care less what they think and say. So really learning to accept yourself. And some of the ways this played out for me is I no longer try to hide my fat. Okay, so I have a layer of fat from being pregnant, my body type, everything. I have that belly. I used to have everything baggy and everything covering it. And now if I get dressed and I like what I'm wearing and maybe a roll is just hanging out there, not naked like, but I have a roll there. I don't try to hide that. I don't try to hide my face with a bunch of makeup anymore. If I feel like wearing makeup, because sometimes I think it's fun to wear makeup and I want to put color on my eyes and I'm just having fun, like an art day kind of on my face, that's different. But I don't feel like I can't go out without makeup and feel like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? I don't have any makeup on and I look blah. I just don't worry about that. I have accepted myself as I am. And I'm always trying to improve my life, improve who I am, but it's not any longer for the reason of being worthy of people's love and appreciation, because I have already learned to truly, genuinely love and appreciate myself. Now it's just for the challenge of it. It's just for the expansion in life. It's just for the new experience. It's just because it sounds fun to me when I challenge myself or try to reach a different level of health, or do a new hairdo in a certain way. I do it because it's artistic, it's fun. I want to see what I can make of it or whatever. It's not that I don't care about how I look, because I very much do want to feel like when I go out my door, feel good about myself. So that matters to me on how I feel and how I look to me. I don't so much anymore dress and look in front of the mirror on how it's going to look to others as I do, does this feel good to me? Do I feel beautiful like this outfit? Do I feel beautiful in it? So it's really learning to love and accept and appreciate yourself so fully. And I just feel like I've come full circle here, that all this that I have talked about and discussed in this video has the foundation of genuine self-love. Today, one of my former clients had sent me a polo and had told me, she said, I really love myself now. I really like myself and love myself. And she goes, and you know, Liz, when I started, it wasn't like that at all. And I was just so full of joy for her. I was just told her it clicked. It's genuine now. It's genuine self-love. There's a difference between saying, I'm going to start loving myself and then kind of floating around there trying to do it, and getting to that place where it's genuine, where you just genuinely love and appreciate yourself. And that is my aim for my clients that I coach, is that they genuinely love themselves, feel completely capable in themselves to create a life that they love, that they're happy with, and to create relationships that are supportive and that feel good to them, and to genuinely love themselves. Genuine self-love is foundational to every other relationship you have. You first have to strengthen and root the relationship with yourself, and it needs to be healthy and strong if you're going to have other relationships that are healthy and strong. Because once you genuinely love and appreciate yourself, your relationship is no longer about needing somebody else to love and appreciate you and romance you and do this and this and this for you. Your relationship becomes more about friendship and companionship and these other things such as passion and romance. They flow in and they flow out. They will in and out of every relationship, but that core companionship and that core friendship can remain regardless, because you're not anchored into each other with a need that at some point the other person may not be able to meet. You are anchored in your own genuine self-love. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has, please don't forget to pay back by liking it and subscribe if you want to, and hit the bell if you want to be updated when I make new videos. And so thankful that you listened through this whole video. I hope it's been helpful. Love to hear comments. Take care.